What is happening under the ice of Greenland? Greenland, the largest, most fascinating, and most mysterious island in the world, is a non-continental landmass about 3 times the size of the U.S. state of Texas. Although situated on the North American tectonic plate, Greenland has remained part of the Kingdom of Denmark for over 300 years. Greenland, despite its name, is not as green as one might think. In fact, only about 20% of the island is relatively green, with the rest consisting of vast expanses of ice and snow. And with a population of just 56,000, this mysterious island somehow manages to be the least densely populated region on Earth. Join us as we explore this captivating island and delve into the mysteries hidden beneath Greenland's icy surface. Despite being the largest island on the planet that is not a continent, Greenland remains a rather mysterious place that most people don't know much about. Though geographically part of the North American continent, Greenland has been politically and culturally associated with Europe, particularly under the colonial rule of Norway and Denmark since the 9th century. Even more interesting is the fact that Greenland is not an independent country, but rather an autonomous Danish-dependent territory with limited self-government. Denmark contributes 2/3 of Greenland's budget, with the remainder coming mainly from fishing, as well as potential oil, gas, and rare earth mineral resources. One of Greenland's most striking features is that over 80% of the island is covered by a permanent ice cap, some 4 kilometers thick in places. This vast icy landscape experiences perpetual daylight for 2 months each year. While global warming is causing this ice cap to melt, it has also increased access to Greenland's mineral resources and revealed interesting new discoveries under the ice. We will explore the lives of those currently living in Greenland, the fascinating discoveries in the region, and why Greenland is almost empty. And it's not just the ice. Greenland, often imagined as a monolithic land of ice and snow, actually has a surprisingly diverse geography that contradicts its icy reputation. While it is known primarily for its massive ice sheet, the second largest in the world after Antarctica, Greenland also features unique landscapes in areas not covered by ice. In fact, if Greenland were its own nation, it would rank as the 12th largest in the world, surpassing the likes of Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Indonesia. The capital city, Nuuk, is home to around 19,000 of the country's entire population of 56,000, making Greenland one of the most sparsely populated areas on Earth, with just 0.14 people per square kilometer, or 1 person for every 7 square kilometers. The climate in Nuuk can be quite chilly, with winter temperatures ranging from -5 to -10 degrees Celsius. However, the summers are not too bad, with average temperatures reaching up to 11 degrees Celsius, and the highest temperature ever recorded in the city was a sweltering 22.2 degrees Celsius in 2016. Greenlandic is the official language, with Danish and English also being recognized. Inuits make up 89% of the total population, with 7.5% being Danish, 1.1% other Nordics, and 1.9% other. Interestingly, an overwhelming 95.5% of the population identifies as Protestant. The life expectancy for men in Greenland is around 71 years, while for women it's 76 years. The country's GDP is around $3 billion, which translates to a GDP per capita of around $53,000, a figure that may come as a surprise, as it actually ranks the Greenlandic people as the 15th richest in the world, surpassing the likes of Austria, Germany, and the United Arab Emirates. The currency used in Greenland is the Danish krone, and the country's internet domain is .gl. Strategically, Greenland has long been seen as important by the United States, which established a radar base there at the start of the Cold War. In fact, former President Donald Trump even expressed a desire to purchase the island when he was in office. For a place as fascinating and reasonably rich, why are more people not living in Greenland? Hey guys, just a moment before we answer this question, be sure to join the Insane Curiosity channel. Click on the bell, you'll help us to make products of even higher quality. Now let's get back to the video. Why is Greenland relatively empty? You might have been shocked when you discovered that despite its vast size, Greenland is actually one of the least densely populated places in the world. It's a fascinating place, but the reasons behind its low population are not immediately obvious. After all, Greenland isn't the only place on the planet that deals with extremely cold temperatures. Let's take a closer look. Sure, Greenland's extreme climate plays a big role in limiting its population. The island is mostly covered in ice, leaving only about 20% of the land area actually habitable, mainly along the coasts. But other high-latitude countries like Iceland, Norway, and Sweden also have to contend with very cold weather, and they manage to sustain much larger populations. The key difference really comes down to geography and access. While the Nordic countries benefit from the moderating effects of the Gulf Stream, which flows up from the Caribbean, Greenland sits just north of this current, leaving it exposed to the full brunt of the Arctic climate. And Iceland, though still quite cold, has the advantage of significant volcanic and geothermal activity to offset the temperature. Then there's the isolation factor. Surrounded by the Arctic and North Atlantic Oceans, Greenland is extremely remote, with limited access to the outside world. This has historically limited opportunities for migration and trade. Contrast that with Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, which have been integral parts of European trade routes for centuries, allowing them to develop stronger economic and transportation links. Greenland's economy is also heavily reliant on a single industry: fishing. With such limited arable land due to the permafrost, agriculture is almost non-existent, making the country heavily dependent on imports for food. Countries with large populations either need to be able to grow their own food or have the wealth to purchase it from elsewhere, and Greenland just doesn't have those capabilities at the moment. Finally, the harsh terrain and climate make infrastructure development in Greenland incredibly challenging and expensive. Connecting the scattered coastal communities through the fjords and over the ice is a massive logistical undertaking. Even basic things like maintaining roads are far more difficult than in temperate regions. So in the end, Greenland's remote location, extreme climate, limited economic diversity, and infrastructure challenges all contribute to its status as the least densely populated region in the world. Today, the country is home to just over 56,000 people, with the capital city of Nuuk accounting for around 18,000 of them. The rest of the population is scattered across smaller towns and villages, mostly on the western and southern coasts. It's a fascinating place for sure, but one that faces some unique obstacles when it comes to supporting a larger human presence. Still, those hardy Greenlanders who call the island home have found ways to thrive in this harsh yet beautiful corner of the world. What does it actually look like living in Greenland? Greenland's standard of living and unemployment rate are comparable to those in mainland Europe. Back in the mid-1990s, the unemployment rate sat around 10%, with the public sector making up nearly two-thirds of all jobs. The country's GDP tops $1 billion per year, but the Danish government provides close to half of Greenland's budget. The economy hit a downturn in the late 80s and early 90s, but recent years have seen budget surpluses and low inflation. However, there are growing concerns about overfishing, depleting the crucial fisheries. In the remote Inuit communities of northern and eastern Greenland, people heavily rely on subsistence hunting of polar bears, seals, and other animals for food and clothing. These communities benefited when the International Whaling Commission granted Greenland special authority for limited Aboriginal whaling. The Greenlandic and Danish governments support the country's artistic and literary communities, recognizing the value of attracting tourists. However, the Inuit community's rich creative history is the driving force behind the ongoing survival of Greenlandic arts. Inuit myths, moral codes, and connections to animals like seals, bears, and whales are central to the vibrant oral storytelling tradition. And of course, Greenland is renowned for having the purest air on the planet. The long frigid winters with endless snow and sub-freezing temps create a dazzling, sparkling landscape. You can see the northern lights dancing overhead like a glittering veil of purple and green in the early mornings. You've probably heard of dog sledding in the region. The fine art of dog sledding is a fascinating part of life in Greenland. The sled dogs themselves are a specially adapted, hardy breed capable of pulling heavy loads across the frozen landscape. Watching a team of these powerful canines in motion is an impressive sight, Their synchronized movements gliding swiftly over the snow as the musher expertly guides the sled. Dog sledding is a year-round activity in Greenland, though the prime season typically runs from December through April. During this period, the weather and snow conditions are generally most favorable for the sport. While dog sledding can be enjoyed throughout the winter months, the peak season is often cited as January to March. This time frame not only offers reliable snow cover, but also aligns with the high season for observing the captivating natural phenomena of the Northern Lights. Dog sledding serves as a practical means of transportation, allowing Greenlanders to access hunting grounds, deliver supplies, and visit families in remote communities. Before we dive into the discovery that was made beneath the icy sheets of Greenland, we will have to address a little misconception about Greenland and Iceland. Why do people mistake Greenland for Iceland? The names Greenland and Iceland have long puzzled people. After all, they seem to contradict the actual physical characteristics of these places. Greenland, largely covered by a vast ice sheet, is anything but green for most of the year. Meanwhile, Iceland, though it has its share of glaciers, also boasts green valleys, hot springs, and geothermal areas. The origin of these names is a blend of history, culture, and perhaps even more marketing considerations from the early Norse settlers. The story of Greenland's name begins with the Norwegian Viking Eric the Red. According to Icelandic sagas, Eric was exiled from Iceland around 982 AD to some murders he had committed. He set sail and eventually landed on the shores of a vast, icy land. After spending a few years exploring the region, Eric returned to Iceland to recruit settlers for this new land. It is said that he deliberately chose the name Greenland as a way to make it sound more appealing than reality. While the southern coast of Greenland, where Eric settled, does have some greenery during the brief summer, the name was likely exaggerated to entice more people to join the settlement. The naming story for Iceland is a bit more straightforward, but still contains elements of irony. The saga suggests that it was a Viking named Floki who gave Iceland its name. Floki sailed to the island from Norway, but unlike Eric the Red, he had a less favorable experience. After a harsh winter, Floki climbed a mountain and, upon seeing a location full of icebergs, named the land Iceland. This was in contrast to the relatively green and fertile valleys that also characterize much of Iceland, especially in the summer. These names, chosen by the Norse settlers, have persisted through the centuries, despite their apparent contradiction with the geographic realities. Some historians and linguists have speculated that there might have been a mix-up or a deliberate swap of names as part of a Viking humor or storytelling tradition, but there is no concrete evidence to support this theory. Greenland is undoubtedly cold and icy, but the reasons for the island's small population extend beyond just the ice. The orientation of its settlements towards Canada and a lack of moderating influence of the Gulf Stream each contribute to its population distribution. Unless this changes in the future, which it very well might, Greenland is likely to have a very low population for the foreseeable future. Hey guys, we did a video about when the entire world was covered with ice, not just Greenland or Iceland. Be sure to check it out. Now it's time to dive into the fascinating discovery you have been waiting for. What remarkable discovery was made in Greenland? Researchers have discovered 2-million-year-old DNA, the oldest ever found, buried in clay and quartz sediment that was preserved in the permafrost in Greenland's northernmost point. This historic and extraordinary finding, published in a new study in Nature, reveals just how much the icy landscape of northern Greenland has changed over time. Eski Willerslev from the University of Cambridge and Kurt H. Kjær from the University of Copenhagen uncovered 41 DNA samples, each only a few millionths of a millimeter long, that contained an invaluable amount of information about the region's past ecosystem. These tiny samples showed that the freezing region was once the ancient home for many more animals, plants, and microorganisms than there are today, including hares, lemmings, reindeer, and mastodons. The researchers were surprised to find evidence of reindeer and mastodons, as paleontologists previously thought these animals should have not survived in this area. Mastodons, massive ice-aged mammals similar to modern-day elephants, were believed to have lived mostly in North and Central America before going extinct 13,000 years ago. The DNA samples also revealed that the area, which is now known only for minimal plants, hares, and musk ox, was once a forested ecosystem unlike any now found on Earth, filled with poplar, spruce, and yew trees that don't typically grow that far north. This remarkable discovery has opened a new chapter spanning 1 million extra years of history and allowed researchers to directly examine the DNA of an ecosystem from 2 million years in the past, a time period much further back than anyone could have imagined possible. Eski Willerslev expressed his surprise at the findings, stating, "No one would have predicted this ecosystem in northern Greenland at this time." The discovery of ancient fossils of horseshoe crabs and green algae was quite unexpected, as it suggests the northern Greenland climate over 2 million years ago was significantly warmer than it is today. While the research team was amazed by these revelations, they are perhaps even more excited about the potential implications for future studies using ancient DNA. As the study notes, similar detailed flora and vertebrate DNA records may survive at other localities. If recovered, these would advance our understanding of the variability of climate and biotic interactions during the warmer early Pleistocene epochs across the high Arctic. In other words, the hope is that this remarkable find in northern Greenland could just be the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. If additional ancient DNA records are uncovered in other regions of the high Arctic, it could provide invaluable insights into how the climate and ecosystems of the far north have changed over thousands and millions of years. This could greatly enhance our knowledge of the complex environmental history of this remote and often inhospitable part of the world. What do you find most fascinating about Greenland? Would you ever want to visit Greenland? Feel free to leave your answers in the comments below. If you like this video, then you should check out the one on your screen, an even more fascinating icy landmass, Antarctica. Thanks for watching.